Cedar Point, America's rockin' roller coast. Located in Sandusky, Ohio, many thrill seekers' favorite amusement park in the whole entire world. Known for pushing the boundaries on extraordinary and filled with classic roller coasters such as Gemini, Magnum, Corkscrew, all record breakers in their own rights. To Millennium Force, the first Giga in the world. Top Thrill Dragster, the first Strata. Steel Vengeance, being a hyper hybrid. Maverick with the 95-degree drop. But since 2007, they've only really added one elite coaster in Steel Vengeance, leading many enthusiasts to wonder, is Cedar Point still the coaster capital? And can they retake that spot? I'm going to tell you how Cedar Point can retake the spot as the coaster capital of the world and some of the rides that are going to need replaced over the coming years. So stay tuned for this one. The first ride at Cedar Point that I think is going to need to be replaced soon, and one that could really use a refreshing, aesthetically pleasing ride in that spot, would be the Cedar Creek Mine Ride. It's one of those old family rides that just doesn't stand up to the test of time. It's kind of pointless. It doesn't do too much. And I would love to see a new generation Vekoma mine train go there. These rides look fantastic. They look so much fun. I would love to see one of those go over there because that pond, such prime real estate. It's such a pretty area in the park, and it could really use a refreshing ride there where people want to go ride, help disperse the crowds a little bit between Gemini and the Steel Vengeance and Maverick area. I think it would be fantastic to see one of these Vekoma mine trains go there. Family-friendly ride, still not too intense, so you would be able to keep the family-friendly ride in the area. You wouldn't have to worry about the height restrictions. You guys might even be able to lower it so you have some shorter riders being able to ride a little bit more thrilling ride a little earlier, which would be fantastic for them as well. I think these rides could do wonderful in the park. I know Vekoma doesn't really have a U.S. Manufacturing plant right now, so it's kind of hard for them to bring rides to the Cedar Fair chain, especially with S&S, but I think that would be fantastic for that spot. This one might be a little bit controversial to some as it was just converted to a floorless coaster not too long ago, but Rugaroo at Cedar Point, that is one I would love to see replaced with a newer model. It's coming close to the end of its lifespan. It's not quite there yet, but it changed from Mantis to Rugaroo, and I would love to see either a Gerstlauer Infinity Coaster go there because that would look great as a backdrop to Millennium Force there. Could you imagine that midway just lit up with a Gerstlauer Infinity Coaster? It's a similar enough type of ride, different enough from Valraven to substantiate the drop coaster feeling, but really what sells it for me is that lighting package. Millennium Force is already one of the most beautiful coasters in the park, one of the most photogenic coasters of all time. That lift hill lit up looks great, and I could just imagine how one of these would look, a Gerstlauer Infinity Coaster right there next to Millennium Force. Some of the problems with this might be capacity, but Knott's Berry Farm has a similar amount of guests as Cedar Point per year. I know they're open year-round, so that's a little bit inflated compared to Cedar Point, but it's one of those things where if it works there, I think it could work at Cedar Point, especially with the fact that Rugaroo isn't one of the more popular rides there. This is a similar enough ride where it's got all the looping elements. You could even go for inversion records if you want, and it doesn't take up a huge footprint. So I think a Gerstlauer Infinity Coaster would be a great addition in helping Cedar Point retake that title. Next up, we're going to talk about Iron Dragon. Now, this is an old aero suspended coaster that is definitely nearing the end of its lifespan, and I would love to see a Vekoma suspended thrill coaster go here. Again, I know Vekoma doesn't really have an American manufacturing thing going on here, and we would likely see S&S rides, but personally, I would love to see a Vekoma suspended thrill coaster here. Maybe take out the inversions so you can differentiate it enough from B&M Raptor in the park. you would have a family edition of that, a family coaster version. I think that would do wonders for this spot. It would be similar enough to the old Aero suspended coasters. And I know it's only one of 5 or 6 operating still, but I think it's time for an upgrade, and I think a Vekoma suspended thrill coaster would do wonders for the park here. Now we have the Corkscrew, the Top Thrill Dragster Midway, Top Thrill Dragster Reimagined. We're going to leave out of this one, but what could they do with Corkscrew after removing those 2 rides, the Matterhorn and the Scrambler over there? I would love to see, Steel Curtain and S&S would be sweet there. It doesn't take up a huge footprint. It could be kind of cool to see, but I know they have tons of problems with that over at Kennywood, so I'm not really asking for it. I just think it would be a cool addition to the park. I would love to see a Mach Extreme Spinner go here, or something like Copperhead Strike. I know it's pretty similar to Maverick, but you could differentiate it enough and make it a looping model, more focused on inversions and whatnot versus the launches. And you could have an ode to the Corkscrew almost. Mach would do a wonderful job with that, but an Extreme Spinner would be awesome here. Some people say the capacity, I hear that. Some people say we'll never see an Extreme Spinner at Cedar Point. But I think it would be an awesome addition, and it would go a long way in helping Cedar Point reclaim that title as the roller coaster capital of the world again. I know a lot of us are wishing they focused on the thrill a little bit more, but I think one of those would do great here. Let me know down in the comments, do you guys want to see a Mach Extreme Spinner at Cedar Point? Because I've heard that a lot. I think it would be a great addition, so let me know down below. Gemini, Gemini, Gemini. I love this roller coaster, but there have been rumors about it being removed for the longest time. Ever since they built Dragster, it was rumored to have been removed. I would still love to see a racing model here, so why don't we call up Mach again and do one of these like they're doing at Epic Universe. This ride looks fantastic. All of the dueling elements, you would be able to keep that same thrill for all the guests at Cedar Point who love the racing elements of the Gemini. I know it would take away from that classic feel that Gemini brings, and we'd be losing yet another Aero coaster to the park, but I think this would be a wonderful addition to it because it could arguably take up some of the top spots at the park. It could also break some records if you went for the inversions on both sides. That's not what I would focus on. I would focus on the racing element of it. I think this could do great for retaking that title of the roller coaster capital of the world again. Gemini has been one of my favorite roller coasters for the longest time. One of my first big roller coasters. I walked in, I did Demon Drop, I did Gemini, and then we did Magnum. So, I mean, those are some of my favorite rides. I don't want to see Gemini go. For the sake of reclaiming the title, I think one of these coasters that Mach was producing at Epic Universe would be wonderful for the park. First off, Magnum XL200 is an elite coaster. It is one of the best coasters in the park, and it is still the best hyper coaster in the world. I just wanted to get that out of the way. I would love to see them upgrade the space theming on this a little bit. Maybe, go back to when they first launched it, kind of go Orion-esque with it. But you're probably wondering, Aero to Vekoma, Jared, what are you talking about here? So, Aero had a split company, also D.H. Morgan. Some of the co-founders from Aero went there, but S&S technically owns the old Aero assets, and Vekoma is under the S&S umbrella right now. But the real interesting part here is Chance Rides. They acquired the assets of D.H. Morgan. Now, if you know, Dana Morgan, the son of Ed Morgan, was a co-founder at Aerodynamics. This is interesting to me because I think that you could bring Chance Rides into the park and maybe have them reprofile and retrack some of Magnum. Give it that old, elite coaster feeling that Cedar Point used to have with it. I think they could bring it back to elite status, bring the long lines back, because if you've been to Cedar Point recently, you know Magnum doesn't gain the longest lines. If they were unable to have Chance do this, though, I would love to see them maybe replace it with an Intamin Mega Coaster. Save the relationship with Intamin, guys. Come on. They make elite rides, and this would just be a fantastic addition for the park. Look at what they've done with Conda at Wallaby, Belgium, I believe, or Holland. Don't let me misquote that one here. I would love to see it. Maybe with Hyperion, how they did the space theme with that one. You could kind of give it a little more theming. Cedar Fair, nudge, nudge. We'd love to see it. That would be a wonderful addition to the park. I think that would help them solidify, if they did all of these things, the claim to the roller coaster capital of the world. And last but not least, a whole entire retheme of the Forbidden Frontier area, and I think they could connect the island from Forbidden Frontier over where the Cedar Creek mine ride is, if they were to replace this and do some careful construction of, say, that new Vacoma mine train. I'm just saying, guys, hear me out now. What if they were to do like a Wild West Frontier theme like they've been doing, but say call it the Lake Frontier theme? And they have the big area back there. They can continue to have the children's area back there. Also be able to build a GCI or a Gravity Group wooden coaster. Think Voyage at Holiday World. Think of Mind Blower at Fun Spot. Or even Mystic Timbers at Kings Island. Cedar Point desperately needs an elite standout wooden coaster. And I think that whole entire area back there would be fitting for it. It would be perfect. Prime real estate, perfect area. Take Dr. Dolbert's Fling out. You guys could add an elite world-class roller coaster back there. Maybe a top 10 or top 5 or even the best wooden roller coaster in the world. I know they're down on the maintenance team a little bit, so I'm not pushing for it too hard here, but this is something that Cedar Point desperately lacks in their lineup, and a thrilling wooden coaster would do wonders back there, and a whole new themed area like the Lake Frontier theme. Let me know what you guys think about that down below, especially if you got even better ideas for it. But I think they could keep the children's area, retheme it, connect the island over there by the Cedar Creek mine ride so you have even more pathways to walk through in the whole entire park. Let me know down below what you guys think about all of this. I think this could do wonders for the park and definitely help them reclaim that stake as the roller coaster capital of the world. Let me know how you think Cedar Point could become the roller coaster capital of the world down below. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and thanks for watching Ghoster Coasters.